This is it. We're just gonna,
Wing it. Who cares?
we're
It's
gonna
all
wing it. We're
good.
just freewheeling. We are rolling. Oh, that's the
Love it.
perfect intro. So, Daniela Sfara,
Yes.
correct? I got
Spada.
Sfara. Sorry,
Correct enough.
correct enough. Welcome to Tasty Humans,
Thank you.
powered by What's On and in the amazing Media One Hotel. And this is super cool, and I want to start by saying that because essentially you are our guest chef for Ciao Bella this week,
Correct.
and I don't think in my career I've done something so randomly brilliant so far by just reaching out to you on Instagram about 2 months ago, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the first thing I got back was you thought I was a bot.
Oh my God, yes. I did. I mean, you so randomly reached out, and it wasn't even a what would a typical professional guest chef request message be,
Oh.
but it was more,
Sounds
hey,
like me.
this is what we do. Do you want to be a guest chef? And I thought you were the modern day version of a Nigerian prince money sending scam. And I thought, well, let me entertain it anyways.
So, so do you get a lot of that?
I get some of it, and usually they are bots.
Oh, wow.
But I happened to respond to the right one this time.
Oh, fantastic.
So awesome.
So then we organised a quick Zoom.
We
and,
did.
And that's when I found out that you're based in Toronto.
Correct.
And I suppose, yeah, how did you feel about it all, you know?
I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm sitting in this chair in Dubai in this gorgeous Media One hotel, and it's still surreal to me, honestly, Sam. It is, it's nothing I could have asked or written on my wish list, but it's definitely something that I'm so grateful for and so stoked and excited about. Like, I love your energy, and I can't wait for this week to unfold.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we've just come from, just meeting this morning.
Yeah.
Half an hour, 45-minute amazing chat, you know what I mean? No bad
Yeah.
words.
No,
okay, we can't say
no.
bad words.
I know. That's a tough one.
But it is tough because we really want to sometimes.
I mean, it's half of my language, so yeah.
So your heritage then is
Italian.
Yep.
So my parents are Italian from the South. I was born in Toronto, but we grew up half a year in Italy, half a year in Canada, where my grandmother lived in Italy. And so my first language, ideally, was our Calabrese dialect, and then Italian, and I didn't learn English until I went to school. So, yeah. So if I
Okay.
fumble at my English language, that's probably why.
It's okay. Your English is way better than mine.
Thanks.
So, and I come from the country.
And you come
Then
from
I come
the
from the country.
yeah.
I've always said I speak two languages. I speak English and really bad English.
And back home English, yeah.
And back home English. So let's start with let's start with what you do.
Yeah.
So what do you actually do?
Okay, so what I actually do for a profession is a private chef. And I consult. So, but what I really do outside of that is honestly just live every day inspired by everything around me. So, yeah. And I drink a lot of alcohol.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. How much do you define as a lot?
I mean, if it suits me fine and it makes me happy, then it's not really that much.
Okay, fair enough.
It's the perfect amount for everyone else.
That's what most alcoholics say.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to be a chef then? Like how did that come around? Because again, like I explained this morning, what I try to do or what we're trying to do here is find out who you are and all the people watching this that might want to go on to be chefs, private chefs, start their own businesses.
Yeah.
So where did that all begin?
Oh my gosh. So it's actually been many years of a little bit of a roller coaster, to be honest, because in a good way, roller coaster. I've been a jewelry designer for over 24 years in Toronto. Wholesale clientele, private clientele, diamond jewelry, fine jewelry. And I've always cooked. I've always loved cooking. I mean, it's owed to my mom and my grandmother and every other amazing young and hurt woman that I've ever come across. But my mom really, and it started when I was probably before I was speaking, for God's sakes. So I was in the kitchen with her, always watching and learning. And it was the rite of passage in an Italian home. The girl needs to cook. And so being the youngest of 5 kids, little did I realize that that was my job. So, fortunately, I enjoyed it. And over the years, I had been presented with opportunities to have my own show, to have an own series, etc. And I couldn't bring myself to saying yes because the dishes that I specialize in have always been the dishes that a nonna or a nonno had taught me. And they were from heritage dishes and traditional dishes that told stories of the land. And, it was at a time when I thought the best, most respectful thing I could have done was to covet those dishes and to covet those stories. And then this beautiful thing called a pandemic happened, and I had more time to do what I naturally love doing, and that's being in the kitchen. And so, of that came a hilarious little start because I had moved to an apartment in my town where I live, and there was construction outside. And I'm like, for heaven's sakes, for the first time in my life, there's no work happening. I can sleep in until 7 a.m. if I really want to, which never happens. And I've got to hear construction. This is just not happening. So I thought I would do the Italian thing. And, we sweet talk our way with food to a lot of people. I mean, it is, after all, the way to people's souls and hearts. So I went out and made some veal sandwiches, got some veal from my butcher's, and I walked down the entire street and handed out veal sandwiches to all of the construction workers. And
I
let
bet
me
they like
tell
that.
you, they were in love. So, and then they got spoiled because I'd bring a little espresso station for them, and it was awesome. And for the next 2 years, I fed them lunch every day. And that is really what kickstarted me catapulting into a new career. And, I think even as you got to the point of how to start, et cetera, and so forth, from an entrepreneurial point, I think there's a lot of people out there that, might not necessarily be happy with what they're currently doing, or they think it might be a great idea to start something new. And, I could tell you from my experience with anything that I've ever done, I've just started, and that's it. And whether you are educated or very knowledgeable in what you are doing, and you get into that industry, always remind yourself that there's going to be new things to learn anyways. So why not just jump in that pool and learn as you go? And that's exactly what I did. So I'd been doing it naturally. Now I'm doing it professionally. And I swear to you, I have never been more filled with joy and gratitude and a sense of duty and honor to carry on what the traditional heritage was into the present, into the future, which works great because you guys are all about that.
Well, how do you define then the heritage of the dishes that you are inspired by and what you're trying to do?
Oh my gosh.
Like what is the essence of your cuisine, like your passion there?
It really is, there's no other way for me to explain it other than to say to you, if you've ever been to Italy and you happen to get lost and you see a little cobblestone street with a nonnina sitting at her chair right outside her door.
What is that?
A nonnina, a grandmother.
Okay, grandmother. Yeah. Okay, cool.
You're half Italian now, Sam. We met like an hour ago. Yeah. You're half Italian now.
Yeah, okay. I will be by the end of this podcast.
And, if you see her cleaning her beans, it's just the simple life. It's that beautiful way that she is living off the land in the moment, in the season, taking care of others through food. And those are the people I always talk to. That's how I actually travel when I'm in Italy. I'm a complete local when I'm there. And I'll sit there with little nonnina and I'll get to know who she is. And, by the time she's told me, what her life was like when she was 14 and 20 and 35 and had kids, we're at her table having lunch and I'm helping her in the kitchen. And that's the essence of what I do. And it's the story that every single person has that has so wonderfully honored the land that they have come from. And it's those stories that really make a difference. You can go to any restaurant and get a service of a plate in front of you. But then you go to a restaurant that serves you a beautiful dish that has a story with it, and that's far more than just a memory that you're having there. It's an experience, and I think that's something that we all want and deserve today.
Okay. No, awesome. I mean, so as a business then, how do you how do you go about this on a day-to-day basis?
I have to say I'm pretty fortunate with social media. I mean, I get lots of people, including people from Dubai, that reach out to me.
Yeah. Okay.
But I get a lot of people that reach out to me through social media, through the imagery that they see, through the stories that I tell and share. And so on a daily basis, I have set up my home, which is common in Italy, not so common in Canada, as a trattoria. So
Okay.
what that means is you can actually have an authentically home cooked meal in my home, at my table, in my kitchen. And when you walk in, you do not feel like a client. And I can give you a whole list of clients that you can reach out to for validation. I kid you not. It's people come as strangers, they leave as family.
Well, so you actually bring complete strangers into your
Absolutely.
house. That is
Yeah.
bold. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, that's what, I think we forget that we don't just want to be in a venue sometimes. We want an experience. And that's one of the things I love about Ciao Bella, because you guys do exactly the same thing. You offer an experience, and it's just such a great experience. So, I think that's important. And we forget that the conviviality, that the earnest, looking in the eye and having a great conversation without feeling rushed at someone's table, and just enjoying yourself as if you've been invited to a friend's house or a relative's house, is just so special.
So what size of groups do you bring into your house? Twos, fours, sixes, eights? Like how big does this get?
Yeah, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and then I've done 10, I've done 14. People that know what my space is, which is, in my opinion, small, in their opinion, cozy and lovable, they have demanded that and they don't care if it's folding tables in my living room, so that they can be in the open space concept kitchen living room. So I've had 14 in there as well. But then aside from that, if it's larger than that, I also do dinners in their homes. And I bring that experience to them where they're in the comfort of their homes. And then once a month, I have a supper club, which is exactly what we're doing this week.
Yeah,
So the
perfect.
supper club is a nice way of bringing everyone to a different region in Italy throughout the year, or sorry, throughout Italy every month. And it's a wonderful depiction of what, people call la dolce vita. And it's just so incredible to feel that evening. The music and, the food, and just to hear everybody laughing and talking, getting to know everyone. And that too, everyone comes as strangers and nobody really knows anybody except for the person they come with. And they leave as friends. Actually, 2 people left and started dating. So I'm a little matchmaker. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just so
really
great.
putting people together.
Yeah, really putting people together for sure.
How is it, I suppose, this is like a personal question for me. How is it having lots of random people come into your house? Has there ever been, I'd say, interesting experiences where, people are very protective over their homes and who they let into it, and you've turned yours into a business. So,
I I keep reminding myself under my undertone that I can't swear, so I will say I freaking love it.
okay.
Because it's how you're going to get to know people in their raw essence.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
And although I'm in my domain, they feel like they're in theirs when they're in my home. And everyone feels comfortable. You want to sit on the sofa, let's listen to music, I'll pour you a Prosecco. And really, that's exactly what happens. I've got listed on my website, if you want to come, it's between 6 and 8:30. There's not a single person that's ever left before 10.
Amazing.
So, yeah, it's pretty incredible, I got to be honest.
So how about your team? Is it you, or do you have a team of people?
Well, I mean, the reality is I'm a Gemini, so the team is right here beside me anyways, because there's multiple of me. But in the real world, it's me. I am the team.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
go to somebody else's house, it's you, just on your own, ingredients, their kitchen.
Yep. Yep. And the other amazing thing is, I've seen a lot of chefs do this, and I love that they do it because they're able to prepare, which is wonderful. My experience is very different from that. What you get with me, whether I come to you or you come to me, or it's a supper club, is you don't know what you're enjoying at the table. And I do that because when you're in an authentic agriturismo in Italy, that's exactly what it is. Whether you are in the north or south of the country, you just go, you sit at the table, and you enjoy what they bring you, the local dishes from the region, from that season, from that day. And that's what I want people to enjoy. I want them to experience the real Italian cuisine. And they all have beautiful stories to those dishes. I don't want them to just have something popular because it's what they can order anywhere. Go anywhere and order it.
So what do you define as real Italian cuisine? Because in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I am. The two most popular cuisines are Pan Asian and Italian. So this is what Dubai is flooded with
Right.
as concepts. And of course, everyone's trying to either be as authentic
Yeah.
or not, or American Italian, this sort of style. So what do you actually quantify as real Italian cuisine? How would you sort of articulate that?
Well, I think for me, and I've had many lengthy conversations with other Italian chefs about this, and I think for me, the important thing is the old traditional dishes, because that's where those traditional dishes not necessarily originated from, because we're going to have some dishes that have been influenced by other countries as well, but because there is such a heritage connection to the dishes that I prepare, for me those tell a story of long ago. Now, does it mean that a fusion Italian is not authentic Italian? No, it's a modern twist. And I love that we're adding modernity to dishes. Absolutely. It's just not what I choose to specialize in. So, what is authentic Italian to me? The dishes that I prepare, as well, of course, as a lot of Italian dishes, but there's going to be some, for instance, Americanized, influenced Italian dishes. Those are not Italian dishes. And I can list off so many of those dishes, but I don't want to upset anybody right now.
Okay.
But I will give,
what would
spaghetti
be-
and meatballs for one of them.
Okay.
You go to Italy, and what ends up happening is you have your spaghetti first, and then the meatballs come after as a second dish. They're never on the plate. What ended up happening many years ago is a lot of the Italians that emigrated to the U.S., for work purposes, of course, they had restricted lunch times. They don't have the 4 or 5 hour lunch break, and they close down the way they do in Italy, and so they've condensed things.
4 or 5 hour lunch breaks in Italy.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Have you ever been to Italy?
I have
Oh
not,
my
no.
gosh, Sam, when you
I feel like I want to go work there now to get a 5 hour lunch break.
Well, when I go back after this week, you're coming with me. It's amazing. Yeah, they close at noon and they open up at 5. It's remarkable. So, and they take their time very preciously. So, spaghetti and meatballs is an American thing. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that a lot of people assume is Italian. Another example is there's certain dishes that are specific to certain regions because that's what they specialize in. And this is more so what I'm referring to when I say traditional and authentic is, you can have a dish anywhere, but if you're going to have a specific dish, for instance, tagliatelle al ragù, you're going to go have that in Bologna.
Okay.
And you're going to enjoy it there. And you can have it anywhere else. But to get its original flavor and essence, that's where you're going to go. You're going to go buy, fresh tagliatelle. You're going to go buy fresh tortellini. You're going to go to Torino.
I love the way your accent changes when you pronounce it. No, I'm getting very hungry. What I mean?
Well, you could have brought me a little stove. I would have whipped something up for us. It would have been great.
No, this is a talking show, not a cooking show.
I mean, wine, something.
I don't know how far we'd get if we were sat here openly drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, authenticity is a beautiful word, but I think for me, there is an importance to keeping it in honoring tradition. And I'll tell you, some of the best chefs that I know, they take in their modern kitchen an essence of the traditional kitchen. and they've just modernized the dishes and they've fused them with new inspiration, which is fantastic because as they're preparing these new dishes, there's definitely a sense of who they are and where they came from in the dishes that they're preparing. So that's what I'm referring to as authentic. There has to be some sort of tradition there.
And what's your favorite regions?
Oh
Like
my
if you're kind of, menus and your business and culture is to take people on a journey through Italy, like what would you say is like your number one? I love
Well,
asking this question
yeah.
to chefs because
Sure, because you want to create animosity between us
no,
all.
you know what it is. It's I've been in this industry for nearly 25 years, probably more actually. And I think that when you talk to bartenders or sommeliers, people that are really, really zoned in on the actual food and beverage of it, not just the service, atmosphere, music, training, which all goes into what we do. It's the people that kind of didn't go into management because they wanted to go into the craft of cocktails or like I say, they wanted to be a top sommelier or a chef. I always there's so much range, there's so many options, there's so many combinations. I do quite like to go, all right, if you can only choose one, what would you say? You don't have to answer. You can say it's a ridiculous question.
Yeah,
Mate, so
I mean,
sharp.
like the thing to me, the thing to me is that every region has its beautiful specialties, and so it's impossible because I look at an Italian table, and there's just so much food on the table, not just the copious amounts of food, but so much diversity of food, and they all come from different regions. You can have a stunning prosciutto on the table, you can have some beautiful parmigiano, you can have a nice bufala. You're gonna have, oh my gosh, like different dishes even in pasta from north to south. They're all incredible. I will tell you though, I mean, being Calabrese, I love that there's already such beauty from north to south in the dishes in everything that's prepared. I do prefer more the southern cuisine, but I have over the past 15, 20 years grown a larger appreciation for Abruzzo, I have to be honest. And
Which is?
Abruzzo is, if you look at the map from Rome and you go directly across the other coast, that is Abruzzo and a little bit down. So Abruzzo being one of the most, stunning regions for being considered tra mare e monte, which is between sea and mountain. You get the best seafood, the best meat, a little bit of everything, lots of fabulous landscapes for hiking, for cycling, for walking, gorgeous, gorgeous history and architecture. But you also get some incredible stories too. And what I mean by stories is dishes. And so I've grown to have a really great appreciation for Abruzzese cuisine over the years. But I just love all Italian food. You can't there's no one. I can't choose one.
So trying to pick your favorite child.
Well, I only have one child, so
So naturally,
actually,
he's your favorite. So.
Well, technically, I have a dog, which is more my child than my human child, and my real son, his name is Sam too, would argue that my dog is my favorite. Yeah, so he's like, Mom, you've got 20,000 pictures of Lucky in your phone and one of me. So yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
So as well as being, the chef and the home chef and everything this, you're actually very big on sustainability as well. Like,
oh my gosh.
which again, I'm very transparent. As I said downstairs, I come from more nightlife background than, let's say, I'd say, what's a good way of describing it? Precision restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm more of the bar, nightclub, put the music on, set the atmosphere, let everybody really enjoy themselves. Hope there's no major issues and everything like my life very operated between 6 p.m. and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm probably going to get shot for this statement. So whether or not the straws were made of plastic or paper never really came into my thought process until I came to Dubai, was with Jamira for a couple of years where this sort of initiative, I'd say, very softly began. And of course, coming to Media One, which is trying to stand at the forefront of this in Dubai. So what what is it that inspired you about sustainability? Because we come from a very, very similar era. We were born a year apart. We're not going to confess what those years were.
Or who's older. Thank
Or
you.
who's older. It's me. It's me. Do you know what I mean? Right. But the thing is that people from sort of our generations, unlike the present generation who are growing up with this, we got into it, maybe feel responsible for it in certain ways. So as I say, where did it change for you? Where did you become very aware of it? How did that start to sort of make its way into what you do?
It's an interesting question and a great question, actually, because I think in part, when I look back at, looking at the new trending term of sustainability, I look back at everything we've done in the same way that I would look at the trending term of meal prep. And it's in our culture and in the way we live our lives, the same as taking what we have in the summer to preserve and have all year long. And that sustainability works in the very same manner. And it's always been a conversation of making do with what you have, and therefore you're just naturally living a no waste life and repurposing a lot of the dishes. And it transcends the kitchen, of course, but it's always been part of the conversation for us. And so it just seems that it's now exploding in media. And I find it interesting and also great because I'm starting to see now a lot of people, and like you were saying, whether it was plastic or, paper straws, I'm not too sure that I still believe that whether it's paper or plastic, it makes a difference to the turtles. But, especially after some stuff I've seen in Australia with these turtles, there wasn't a single straw in sight. But,
like what?
Oh my gosh, there are some fantastic. Oh my God, there are some fantastic documentaries with Will Smith called Earth. I don't know if you've seen them. They're incredible. And so there was this one segment where they were talking about scent and smell of things and how what they wanted to do was track where the sharks are going, why they're going, and what they're so interested in. And off one of the coasts of Australia, what they were showing was this one particular island that sharks were so attracted by. And what it was a lot of the turtles come from the water onto the land, and they end up with the wave crush. They end up tipping on their backs, and they can't move over. And so they end up with the heat, depleting in breath and dying and bleeding from their nose. And it was the most sad thing to see. It was so emotional, but that's exactly the scent that drew the sharks over to there. And there's such a heavy population of sharks there. How we got to this, I have no idea. But going back to sustainability
Will Smith,
yeah.
nose bleeding turtles,
and paper
versus plastic.
Right.
You have to explain, how did we get to this? Like, where did that come in?
Well, because there's a reference of, the plastic straws hurting the turtles.
Okay.
And that's where the reference is.
Okay.
And I have to be honest, it never made sense to me because in no documentary I've ever watched have I ever seen a reference of straw to turtle hindrance or straw causing turtle death or anything else and why it would matter.
So, sort of, is your angle that you felt that they're trying to link everything to sustainability, or they're trying to, because there is, I'll be honest, that there's a term that I found out about 4 months ago called greenwashing, right? Have you ever heard of this term?
No.
So apparently what greenwashing is it is when places are talking about being sustainable, they're banging the sustainable drum, but they're not actually being that sustainable. So it's that kind of, we're out here saying we're doing it, but we're not actually doing it.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of the supermarkets in Canada.
Yeah, okay. So
they pull away a lot of the plastic, but there's plastic on everything else. The produce packages, the meat packages, and everything else are plastic. So it makes no sense, but they want you to be distracted by the conversation of going to a more sustainable packaging when you're at the cash line. But what about everything else? So yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
So like I say, but they're trying to, attach, look how trying to attach the sustainability mantra to everything.
Right.
So like you say, there's this weird correlation between how there's plastic straws and suddenly that's making turtles come on shore, turn upside down. And you're genuinely, because when you said what you said about the turtles, it sounds terrible.
It
so
is.
you're becoming empathetic about the situation when really that doesn't add up.
There's no correlation
Under
whatsoever.
sustainability, So
Yeah.
so that's why the whole thing with greenwashing. We did something here with a company called Herago, which they use what we call wonky veg. So it's the vegetables and fruits that don't look very, I suppose the right
Appealing.
word, appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the supermarkets will turn them down.
Yeah.
And then you can then use their company and buy a box of this, and you can use this because it's still
Love it.
from vegetables. So we did this activation here. We did like a cook-off between chefs using the wonky veg. And a brilliant tagline who came up with one of the marketing team, I can't remember who actually said it, which was, stop eating with your eyes and just start eating, which I thought was
Yeah.
great. The point of all this is during this activation, we invited a lot of influencers in media, and a journalist came in who was grilling me about greenwashing.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where that's where I found out this term, where very intensely making me explain the process we were using. Luckily, we were doing everything right, which was great, you know what I mean?
Yay.
But it really kind of hit home to me where, not only is sustainability really important, but it's got to a point where there's almost a manipulation of it in order to stay on trend and stay relevant.
Yeah, and you use the word trend, and I love that because I find that lately it seems to be a trending term for a lot of different things. And I also find that a lot of people enjoy using these trending terms without actually understanding the lifestyle to continue to practice that trending term.
So how would you practice this, or what would your comments be around, let's say, day-to-day home cooking, home kitchen? Because when we're in a business like Media One, who does have the Green Key, is a very sustainable hotel, there's a lot of investment that goes into it because we are a big, entity.
Right.
But on a day-to-day basis in the home, how can people be more sustainable with their ingredients, repurposing food, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, even just a simple little thing, you can regrow a lot of stuff that you get. So celery stalks, for example. I know it's going to sound extremely silly to give a visual like this, but if you were to poke at the bottom of the stalk, toothpicks, and then just fill a glass of water very similar to this, and then just let the celery stalk sit where it's slightly below the water, it will regrow. And a lot of stuff actually regrows that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Not everything, but a lot. A lot of the stuff that we're using, including onion peels or anything else that we are immediately tossing, set those aside, get a pot of water, dump them in there, and make yourself a nice vegetable broth. If you're going to be using dried porcini or something like that, you're going to soak them in water, reuse that water. A lot of people tend to throw it out, and it just makes my heart really sore because they're beautiful mushrooms. Tend to keep that. You can freeze it if you want to in little ice cube trays. And then it's a nice, beautiful flavor for anything. You're going to make a stunning risotto. Well, now you've got your stock for it. But there's a lot of stuff that we do that we don't realize that we could so easily do. We go to the grocery store and we're buying tomatoes. Well, tomatoes are now a little bit, wonky, and we don't want to use them, and we just throw them out. Why are you throwing them out? Put them in a pot of water, just blanch them for about a minute, toss them in a jar, upside down, just, firm that up the way you would making tomato sauce in the summer. They're not going to be the same tomatoes, but you could still put them in the pantry, and you've now got a jar of tomatoes that you can use for an extra, 2, 3, 4 people meal. So there's a lot of things that we can do. Instead of using harsh chemicals, I would remember waking up to the smell of vinegar every morning that my mother would use to clean everything. Everything. It smelled like a salad in my house when I was growing up. But that's what a lot of Italians do to clean. So, we use a lot of natural ingredients. Bicarbonato. Oh my gosh. I can never say this word or remember this word in English.
You're looking at me like I can help with this.
Oh my God. Anyways, it'll come to me after the podcast. We can just type it in. I'm like,
Yeah, we'll put a little subtitle in. Yeah, Daniela meant this.
listen, this is the beauty of reality, right?
100%.
Nothing
This
is
is what it's all
perfect and
about.
nothing's on schedule. So, that's life. But anyways, bicarbonato for the Italian people. Or just look it up.
There you go. Just look it up. Just look it up. Let's move away from this. Just look it up.
But yeah, we use a lot of natural things for cleaning, for degreasing, for sanitizing, for everything. So there's a lot more ways that we can practice sustainability at home. I think what it is we as humans tend to choose to buy the fluff. And we tend to choose to buy the the thing that looks good or the thing that's in the pretty jar or
100%.
right?
Because people, this is one of the most true statements that people eat with their eyes, and they do. And that is it's not a cliched statement, it's a fact where we talk about it a lot in menu design and tastings. People are going to Instagram it, you know what I mean? And which is massive, everyone's taking pictures of everything before they eat it and drink it, etc. So people really, really do. How do you think we can get past that? So here's an interesting question then. As somebody that runs their own business, where you're, like you said, you're big on social media, you want people to look at the food you're cooking and everything else. How do I say this? Would you post something ugly on your Instagram to do with or do you think people would see it as off-putting? Like, do you think we're ready for that? Do you know what I mean? You
asked me a question that requires so much vulgarity in my answer.
It's like my wonky veg thing that we did. It was like, do we really want to tell people in Dubai that we're using wonky veg and ugly food? Like, as an operator,
we should.
When I'm sitting there trying to make everything look as beautiful as possible, you're like really going against the grain. So
I don't think it is going against the grain. I think actually that's the best depiction of going back to basics in reality. And, I think the other thing too is there's a lot of people, and you say social media, and that's so perfect because we seem to live in a social media world now where if it doesn't look perfect, we feel inadequate and insecure to post anything.
100%.
If we don't have a filter on our faces, we don't want to post our images. And I think...
Which is weird because, well, this is a whole other conversation, but which is really strange for me as to... I know we all want to look our best, but we don't. But we also want to come across as who we actually are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I don't know. I've posted on many occasions. I've made a beautiful crostata or something else that I would be bringing to someone, and the whole freaking thing fell, and I'm like, oh my God. So I would take a picture and I would post it. And, my caption to that is, don't believe everything you see on social media, and don't assume that every chef is perfect and no mistakes happen in the kitchen. Mistakes happen everywhere.
Yeah.
I've taught classes, and I've actually done some videos as well in a collaboration that I just did with a school, and I will tell you that was exactly the conversation. It's mistakes are going to happen. You are going to fumble. You are going to fail. Assume that, but assume that that's how you're going to learn. And it's through the imperfection that the beauty happens. So I think it's important that we absolutely do. That's the only way we're going to educate each other, and that we're going to learn to take the beauty from the ugliness. And if we're doing that in, again, a whole other conversation, if we're doing that in a real world conversation, not food related, to look at the situation and grasp the beauty from it, why are we not doing that with food?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important that we go back to basics, because everything, one of the things I specialize in is teaching people intuitively. And if we cannot intuitively, independently think and be curious and assume that back to basics is the actual original sustainable life, then we're screwed.
We are. You're right. Is that so okay? You're right. No, that's very, 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 very true. That to be fully sustainable was way back at the beginning when you just with food picked it off the land, cooked it and ate it.
Yeah, exactly. And you prepared when it was in season for the times that it wouldn't be in season, so you wouldn't experience as much of the scarcity. And there was plenty of scarcity then. Now, we've just got everything in front of us. We waste money, we waste food, we waste everything, and we just don't care. And we think we care, but we don't.
No, we think we care because we do it anyway, and then we tell people that we don't agree with it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which is a whole nother conversation.
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay. So look, with sustainability, okay, so what do you think, is there anything coming up on like the sustainable sort of horizon that you're potentially or very much excited about, like that could have, okay, I'm going to reframe this question. What do you think is the next big global impact in a positive way for sustainability? Like, because it's come a long way in the last sort of 3 to 4 years.
It absolutely has come a long way. And I mean, we've seen it even just looking at things like solar panels, etc. The not even just hybrid, but fully electric vehicles.
Do you not subscribe to the notion, though, that if we all switch to electric, then the power grid will be completely overwhelmed and there's not enough power to do it? I mean, I'm a petrol head, so I'll be long gone, and the electric people will win eventually, but I won't be around to see it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it
It's a bit
takes
of a dark
that long.
statement,
I gotta
yeah.
be honest. Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure that I completely feel confident in a fully electric car just yet. And I'm with you. I like gas. And I
like noise.
Yeah,
I like noise.
I do.
Yeah.
And I like feeling that when I'm in my car, I can see the gauge that tells me when I need to stop for gas. I don't want to plug my car in. I already don't like technology. I mean, I have an iPhone and I have a laptop. I don't have all of the gadgets. And even then, I still use pen and paper in my calendar. I try not to use technology, not because I'm on a movement or anything, but I think as much as there's a lot of good with that direction that we're moving, it also takes away the opportunity for people to have to think. And that's a big problem because thinking and sustainability kind of go hand in hand.
You said this earlier.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a little still confused by a lot of it, I have to be honest. And so it might be tough for me to give you an answer on which ones on the horizon I'm excited about.
But genuinely, you feel we're going in the right direction.
I do definitely feel that we're going in the right direction. I really do. And it's nice to see because in a sense, it is almost like going back to basics with new terminology, with new methods, with new ways, for sure. But then there's the argument that the flavors are not the same. The people aren't the same. And, we kind of lose that sense of humanity, I think, in the moving forward. And as much as it sounds like a complete paradox, if we pay attention, it actually kind of is.
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
We're
going to have a lot of
we're going to have a
lot of I tell you what, we're going to have to do like 3 or 4 podcasts this week, all of a different tone, Yeah. But you mentioned earlier on about your laptop, your phone, and that you use it for traveling, everything. And you are currently traveling. You're in Rome, obviously you're in Dubai, but
right now I'm in Dubai.
You're in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yes, this is actually in Dubai, but you Toronto to Rome because you're in Rome because you're creating a book. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I'd say like, what's the book about?
So it is a bit of a cookbook. A bit of a heritage book. It's an homage to the traditional stories and the traditional heritage of Italian cuisine, regional, typical Italian cuisine, because Italian cuisine really exists only outside of Italy. When you're in Italy, there's no such thing as Italian cuisine. It's either cucina romana, cucina lombarda, cucina calabrese, cucina abruzzese.
What does all that mean?
So... we're gonna have an Italian lesson together.
Yes, yeah.
So it's typical regional dishes, and so it's not just Italian cuisine in Italy, but it's every specific region, and then broken down by different areas of the region that have their specific cuisines and dishes as well. So that's what the book is about. We see so many cookbooks that have so many similar dishes, and they're all wonderful and they're all incredible. I just want to share from a different perspective, and I want to share some of exactly what I do at my table is just going in a book. So that's pretty fabulous. And then the other thing I'm going to do back there is I'm the brand ambassador for one of the pasta brands in Italy, one of the most beautiful brands that's sold in most countries in the world. And so I'm going there. We're getting a fabulous tour of their facility, etc.
And who are they? You can have a shameless plug, no problem. You know
No. It's Rustichella d'Abruzzo. And I'll tell you, I love it because they still produce pasta the artisanal way. And it tastes so fantastic. It's so great. It's actually sold here in Dubai as well, which I'm so thrilled about. And so it's their 100th anniversary this year. So I'm proud to be on board with them because they're just such a fantastic company, such a great family story, etc. And again, everything with me is a story. If it doesn't have a story, most likely won't interest me. So, yeah.
What's the story behind your tattoos?
Oh my
I
gosh.
have to ask because I always ask because you have some, I have many.
Well,
you know
you
what I mean?
have what are considered tattoos. I just have, play ink. So this one here, my name is Daniela, and this one reads Giudicato da Dio. And Giudicato da Dio in English means judged by God. And that is actually the definition of my name.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then this one is my son's birth year in Roman numerals, and this is my absolute favorite flower. It's a peony. It's a symbol of romanticism and love and playfulness and honor. And so, yeah, it's mine. And I've got a few others that are only seen in certain circumstances.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Not this one.
No,
Okay.
totally not.
It's not that type of podcast. So, look, this has been fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to this week.
Yes.
What I think we should sort of end on is, what are you cooking for us this week?
You want me to tell you? Really?
Well, we haven't decided 100%, but what
I hope we decided on something.
No. So we've obviously got the menus and the market list and everything,
Yep.
but more like, what can people expect? There you go. That's a nice way of putting it.
Okay.
Don't go into details. You have to leave the allure and the
Yeah.
desire. But what can people expect from
I
you this
wouldn't
week?
give you the dishes, but I will tell you that I'm going to take you to some of my favorite regions through Italy. And I have been diligently working with your chef, which is fantastic, by the way. Oh my God. Omar is awesome.
He's awesome.
So cool and awesome. So we've been working diligently on the menu together, and we're going to be bringing you some incredible dishes around Italy, and they're going to be beautifully paired with typical regional wines as well. So, yeah, we're bringing Italy to Dubai this week is what you can expect.
Traditionally and properly. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
That's it.
All right. So, as the same with all of the Tasty Human podcasts, Toronto, Rome, now Dubai, sitting here, completely random, totally out the blue.
Yeah.
You've got one last thing to say. What do you want to say? Say anything. What are you gonna leave people with?
Can I make it 1.5 things?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one,
Still can't swear.
Super excited that you're not a bot, for heaven's sakes.
So am I. You know what I mean? So am I.
And two, I'm completely honored to be here. This is something that I will be thanking you for the next 50 years.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming on. And I'm really looking forward to this week.
Oh
it's going to be awesome.
Me too. It's going to be so great. I can't wait to get in the kitchen with you.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.